Tater Tell, Bon Jing, good morning. Yeah, sorry. Sorry, eh? New Aurora Thrifts, hello. Pie Page or Pay Page? You have to tell me how to say that. I apologize. Hello, everybody. Welcome in. Happy Saturday. Happy Saturday. I am just mute. Very important. Bring it all the way down to nothing and mute. Hello, Paige. Okay, just Paige. Perfect. Hello, Paige. How are you? Cheyenne, hello. How are you? Welcome in. Welcome to another seller chat where we talk about a specific topic. And look, today I printed it on labels because I forgot which printer I had hooked up to my computer. So it's on labels. If you get this on your package, because I'm trying to cover up a UPC code or something, you're welcome. You can read at your leisure. I feel so bad, but nothing I can do. I press print and it happens. So I'm reading off of labels today. Hi, Angela, Ashley, Dusk to Dawn. How are you? Welcome in. Dawn to Dusk. Dawn to Dusk Musing. Good morning. How are you? Hi, Angela. How are you doing? Good morning. Good morning. Oh, it is so weird looking at I forgot what it's like looking at yourself. Oh, yeah. Because I've got my show up on the other screen so I can show you something in a few minutes. So feel free to share your shows and ask your question. I'm glad it's Saturday too. Good morning, Laura. How are you? Welcome in. Thanks for joining. Krissa, hello. Ramaram, good morning. Vintiquity, good morning. How are you? Where's Sassy? I gotta boop you. Boop, boop. Good morning, everybody. Welcome in. There you are. I needed to boop you, give you the magical powers, Everyone's gonna get kicked off now. Just kidding. Okay. Angela Ashley has a book show on Monday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. Awesome. Awesome sauce. Okay, hang on. It's not letting me do it. Hey, hello, Pickles. How are you? I gotta boop Angela too. Dear whatnot, I really do. What the heck just happened? Oh, I see. Shiny things. And good morning, Dave from Alberta. How are you? Welcome in. Dave, when's your next you must have a show coming up soon. Welcome in, everyone. I'm good. I'm a little bit, I don't know. These new meds are making me a little bit too awake. I'm not used to being this awake. Later this month, spring break. You have spring break like 2 weeks later than Ontario. Cheyenne buys all the cats show. Yes. You do like cats. You like all kinds of things. You've got good taste. I did pull those things you asked for over to the side so I can take pictures of them later. So Cass and Co, welcome in. Okay, so should we just get going? Let me just phone. I have multiple devices. Today. I'm like over device today on purpose so I can show you how to run on different devices. Oh, I'm sorry that happened to you, Antiquity. We need I think we have gotten to the point on Whatnot, and I know that person's been around for a while, but I think we've gotten to the point on Whatnot where people are feeling comfortable being rude, and they shouldn't be. Whatnot Canada, I mean. They should not. There we are. Make sure I'm muted. Yes. Okay. And I don't think I pulled in my free resources. See? These are the things that you should upgrade and not do what I'm doing right now, which is suddenly importing things. Yeah, rudeness. I know, it's not good. I Spy Collectible, good morning. How are you? Welcome in. Voxwa, Hope, welcome in. Shauna, I can't remember if I said hi to you, but hello, Shauna's Treasures in Art. Hello, everybody. I'm trying to boop and it's not letting me. There we go. Booping. Okay. All right. So when I do a chat show, I pin this item. So if you want to, you can go in and bookmark it. And then whenever I start a chat show, I try to remember to pin this item so you'll get a notification that I'm live doing a chat show, if that interests you at all. I don't do it for my selling shows, but I do it for my community shows. Because on the community shows, it's okay. On the selling shows, you're not really supposed to do that. People still do it, but you're not really supposed to do it. So good morning, everybody. Welcome in. Welcome to another Saturday chat where we talk about a particular topic and kind of do like a little mini masterclass on a particular area of selling on Whatnot. So today we're talking about how to upgrade your show quality. Some of you in the room right now already do this. So this is just kind of a confirmation that you're doing the right things. For others, you're new or you're thinking about selling on Whatnot, and you just want to know about some of the tips and tricks that help bring a show up a level and make it more attractive to audiences. So we'll talk a little bit of buyer psychology. We're going to talk a little bit about some history, because you know I love history, and we're going to just have some tips and tricks. These are pretty simple things. I am not going to be going over OBS, which is a open software, free software that you can use with Whatnot to stream your shows using a computer and video cameras and such. I'm not going to do that. I have used OBS in the past. I didn't like the quality because I didn't have a strong enough video card at the time. And so yeah, the WebSocket makes it easier than before. It is much easier than 3 years ago when I first started and tried to use it. It was not, it was a hot mess. But I loved all the bells and whistles. And one of these days I will have the time. I don't know exactly when that's going to be, but one of these days I will have the time to set myself up in one of the rooms with an OBS setup for certain shows. Probably when I go back to doing some trivia and fun shows again, then I want to do that, because then I can do sound effects and different, things coming across the screen. But I want to talk to the average person who doesn't have a huge budget, who just wants to be able to upgrade their show quality with minimal amount of cost and effort, really. So that's who I'm talking to. Good morning, Beck. How are you? Or I should say, good middle of the night to you, Beck. How are you in Australia? Hello, welcome in. Hi, everybody. Okay, so if you want to share your shows or ask questions, feel free to do so. If you want to ask a question, dog hair. If you want to ask a question, just please put a question mark beside it, because when I do get to the questions, I'm going to kind of go through this and then I'm going to go through this and then I will be going to the questions. So I'm going to try and get through this part of it and then kind of like have questions after the talk. But feel free to make your comments and everything else. I will try to get to as many comments as I can and answer as many questions as I can. And if you would like to just share your show while I'm talking, feel free to do so as well. I probably just won't read it out while I'm doing this. Vintiquity says, make sure you are always looking to see if Whatnot has updates. There's been a lot lately. Yes, there have been a lot. So usually what I do, didn't have time this morning, but I did do it yesterday, is I go before a show and I update all of my apps. I go into the App Store and the Play Store and make sure that my apps are updated, because I usually use an Android device and a iPhone at the same time. And Melody says, I'm going to do that right now. Good idea. Okay, so today we're talking about something that completely can change your results on Whatnot, and that's how to upgrade your show. It's not about upgrading your inventory or changing your pricing. It's about your show. So two sellers, and you've often seen that, two sellers can have the exact same item in their hand. One struggles to get a single bid, and the other one creates a bidding war. The difference isn't the product, it's how the show is run. And the ideas I'm going to give you here are not new. They're things I've probably talked about 100 million times in the last 3 years doing chat shows. So I want to take you back. Let's go back in history for a bit. So as you know, live stream selling is live. There's no chance for cuts or edits. It's totally live. Mistakes happen, bloops happen, silly things happen, dogs go crazy, kids start crying. It's all real life. So this is like the ultimate reality show, right? Um, Back in early television, and some of you won't even know that this was the case, back in early television in the 1950s and 1960s, especially, everything was live. Everything was live. There were no edits. If you watched a comedy show, they were doing it from start to finish, bloopers and all. There were no second takes. There wasn't fixing things later, putting on a filter, doing an edit. There was none of that. They had to get very good at preparation ahead of time with camera awareness and holding attention in real time. So they did, obviously, they practiced a lot before they did their live shows, but they had the preparation. And that's the key thing. So we're going to talk tonight about the preparation and then the execution. I'm going to walk you through these in two parts. Part one is going to be what to do before you go live, your setup, your preparation, and your systems. Part two, I'm reading off of labels. Part two is what happens once you are live, how to control your show, your energy, and the experience for your buyers. And my goal today is very, very simple. I want you to leave with practical things you can apply immediately to your next show. So let's start with part one. And Sadia Mini Boutique says, we all, sorry, we all mostly are in our own home, not a professional commercial setting. Yeah, and you don't need to have a fancy setup in order to do a Whatnot show. You don't need a studio space. If you do a studio space, that's an upgrade. That's great. You can do that. You can set up a special spot in your house that becomes your studio space. Lots of people do that. And that's something that you can do that in a small corner of one room. You do not need to have all the bells and whistles. Okay, so let's start with what happens before you hit start show. Because what you do before your show really determines how your show performs. Preparation is the key. A studio garage, I love it. I love it, Dave. So let's talk first about supplies and setup. So when we talk about supplies, most people think that I mean in terms of what do I need to have in inventory. But what I want you to think about is differently. Your setup isn't about just having um, tools, it's about removing friction. So you want to have all the right things in place to remove friction when you go live. So every time that you have to stop and look for something, and this is do as I say, not as I do, because how many times can I not find the black light that I just had in my hand? Um, every time that you have to hesitate, every time you reach off of screen for something, hang on, I'll be right back. Every time you have to do that, again, do as I say, not as I do, then you are breaking the flow of your show. And when the flow breaks, some people stop engaging, they leave. Now, my standards, this my standard setup for shows is chaos. That's me. I am an unboxer. I usually am unboxing, and part of the experience is a surprise for both me and you of what I've got next in the box, because half of the time I can't even remember that I bought the thing. So wait, there's a page missing. Son of a nutcracker. Oh, no, there wasn't a page missing. Okay, so this surprise. Um, so that's my style. That's my style of show. Most of my shows are like that. But that doesn't mean that I don't still need to prepare ahead of time before my show. I don't go through the boxes. I do not go through the boxes. I might open up a box and look in and see if anything like catches my eye that I'm interested in, and I'll grab that box more than another box. I might be picky about which boxes I bring in, but other than that, I don't look through the boxes. I don't do pre-listing most of the time. That's just me. Um, but I still have to prepare ahead of time. Angela says, what are some suggestions I can give to sellers when they have a bad connection? Great seller was on the other day and people kept leaving due to the fuzziness. Yeah, the best thing to do is to recommend that they move closer to their Wi-Fi signal if they can. Um, uh, or they may have to if they're in a room with, they might have to try and switching to data. If they've got a data plan, you can always try switching to data. Sometimes I've done that in shows when my Wi-Fi is just not, it's for some reason it's just not behaving. I will switch to mobile data for a bit and then try again a little bit later. Um, I'm still quietly trying to clear out everything back. Um, so that would be my suggestion would be to try and move closer to the yeah. Dave from Alberta, who's our tech guru, says in remote areas it's their network speed closer to Wi-Fi. Reboot the router. Beyond that, call provider and have speed tested. Yeah, yeah, because it could be that they just don't have a good speed. If they're on near dial up, then um, it's going to be more challenging for them. But if they can switch to a data plan instead, I can tell you that for a while I was running shows mostly out in the field, not at home. So I was using data. And I think I ate up about, when I was in England, I ate up about 25 gigabytes in 2 weeks. But I was running a lot of shows. So that would be another option too, is to get a data plan if you're in an area where there's at least um, data signal. But that's usually the best option. Okay, so I make sure that I prepare before my show the things that I'm going to need to reduce that friction that I talked about. So I need to have, and I often don't have, clear surfaces for me to put items that have been purchased. I use baskets and boxes for that, and usually have those around me, baskets and boxes for the things that are going to sell, so that I can quickly place them in there. I always make sure I have pen and paper and some sort of thing to write, whether it's sometimes I use post it notes. Sometimes I've used, depends on the item, I will use painter's tape and write the person's name. Or sometimes I don't. If I'm trying to run fast, I will go back to video receipt later because time is money and I would rather run things faster and spend more time after the show doing looking at the video receipt. So oftentimes if you see me stop, and it just means I'm trying to run a little bit faster. Um and oh, Alyssa Swoon says I have a little lunch box of whatnot tools. That's brilliant. Yeah, I usually have a basket, but I'm in a different room. My basket's in the other room. I'm in a different room. So you need a place for the items that don't sell. And so I usually have a couple of empty boxes on standby. So if it doesn't sell, it goes over to the left, and if it does sell, it goes over to the right. Um, I always make sure I have my phone fully charged, and I plug it in, because the last thing that I want to do is be thinking about battery power during a live show. If you are on the road, if you are like doing a live shop show, make sure you have an extra battery pack and that it's plugged in the entire time. Whatnot choose, because it's live streaming, it is taking up a lot of battery power. So you need to make sure that you've got backup battery power. So make sure also that you are using a charger that is not a trickle charger, um, and test that beforehand. Let it let your phone die down a bit, then plug it in and see how fast it says it is charging. On my Android device, it always will say this is slow charging. Find a different charger if it's not good enough. So you want to make sure that your charger is good. Um, I also make sure that I update my app. Um, and I use a second device. So, not everybody can afford to have a second device. If you, for example, I have this Android phone that is it's beat up. It's beat up. As you can see, it's beat up. But it works perfectly fine to pin items, run items, do the show notes, do things in the chat. It works perfectly fine. It's just got a crack in it. So around your house, you may have an older phone that, because it started to run slower, or the kids cracked the screen, or you just upgraded to a better phone. um, then that is what you want to do, is just grab that and have that second device. Or you may find one at a flea market, or in one of those phone repair shops where they're selling an older phone for cheap. Shiny Things asks, is there a way that I can add my Canada Post Small Business Solutions number to Whatnot to reduce shipping costs for buyers? If you have a Canada Post Small Business Solutions shipping that is cheaper than what Whatnot gets, I would be amazed. So you can you can switch to Chit Chats if you want to. The difference for some of your buyers is actually that, um, and there's a few people in the room right now who can attest to this, Chit Chats is more expensive for them because Chit Chats uses Canada Post for final mile delivery. So it'll be cheaper for your urban center customers, but it will not be cheaper for folks who are not in urban centers because it's still last mile delivery. So you're basically paying Chit Chats for their part, and then the cost of shipping through Canada Post on top of that. So it doesn't actually work out. Yeah, Whatnot is fairly cheap. If you haven't sold yet, I don't know if you've sold yet. Let me just look at your profile. 220 items. Okay, so when you go back and look at your shipments, you can click down on those orders and it will actually show you how much the buyer paid for shipping. And so you will have an idea of exactly what the buyer paid for shipping. It shows you that when you go to ship. If you just use that drop down menu and look at each of the items, it'll say the sale price and how much the buyer paid for shipping. So you can compare that and see. And I think you'll find that it is quite inexpensive compared to what we used to have. Savage Princess says, "What's the best way to learn how to use OBS?" Whatnot has, if you go to help.whatnot.com and you type in OBS, there is an amazing. First of all, there's a step-by-step article, but there's also an amazing video that you can watch done by Bug, that takes you through everything, from start to finish on how to set up OBS. It is like, it's the best. He takes it, and you can just pause and yeah. So help.whatnot.com. Thank you for sharing the show, Two Dial. Okay, so make sure that you are prepared ahead of time. These are things that I do. So I use a second device so that I can monitor the chat and control things without interrupting what I'm doing on screen. Thank you, Beck. I make sure that my lighting is already set and I have water nearby. I actually have two today. I have two things of water today. I have water nearby so that I don't lose energy or I get distracted. Um, it's really important that you keep your voice, especially if you're going to do a 4, 5, 6 hour show. You need water handy because you're going to dry out. So my lighting today is a ring light. As you can see, it's a ring light. I also have another light that's a box light. It's a rectangle. It's still got the same LEDs inside, but it's a rectangle. I actually do like that better because it's less distracting than these silly, see. It's like I got extra eyes. Ooh, I don't really like the ring light, but I'm downstairs and this is the ring light that's downstairs. A ring light is an excellent investment. If you can't afford a ring light, then get a whole bunch of your lamps from around the house and put them around you. Steal lamps from the bedroom, steal lamps from the kids' bedroom, steal lamps from the living room to put around you to create that light, because it's so important when you're showing off items. All right, where's the thing? Hang on, I got to go underneath for a second. Ugh. All right, we're going to turn this off. We're going to turn the ring light off. Okay, so this may seem like it's all right, but look at all the shadows. Look at all the shadows. Oh dear Lord, all the shadows. So when you're trying to show something, it's not going to show at its best. It is not going to show it. Yeah, any lamp sellers in the room, wave, and so that people can buy lamps off you, or so you if you're trying to show something, you're not going to show it at its best. The colors aren't going to pop as much. It's going to look dark and dingy. Especially I see a lot of people, if you're in your basement, there's no reason why you can't still have lamps and light around you. One ring light, they're really inexpensive now. I remember when I first, when in 2020, one of the kids wanted a ring light for Christmas, and they were expensive back then. But the prices have gone down quite a bit, and it's going to make a total difference. Um, Melody says lamps are great if you're selling ephemera, gives the Hitchcock vibes. Exactly. So, so I just have this ring light, and that makes a huge difference. Now the colors pop. You also look a little bit better, and your items are going to look better. Oh gosh, really? Oh gosh, Sassy. Get a clip. Get a clip. I want to see the clip. Um, so make sure that your lighting is already set up. And I always try to keep everything that I'm going to need um, within arm's reach. Shiny Thing says I have an issue with my light reflecting off my jewelry. So yeah, I understand that. So what you might want to do is get a diffuser to put over it, and you can even Google how to diffuse the light a little bit. That's free. Mimix has a whole bunch of suggestions. Mimix, are you up yet? But you can just put, you can even put tissue paper over top of the light to sort of diffuse the light a little bit, and that will lessen some of the glare without taking away from the lighting, the extra lighting that you need. So that would be my recommendation for that, is to see about setting up a diffuser, and you can do a homemade one even with a ring light, and also sometimes just adjusting the angle a bit. Yes, if there's any jewelry sellers in the room that can share tips for lighting, feel free to share your tips as well. We're all here to share with each other and learn. Um, so if you think about early television hosts, again, this is my history lesson for days about early television hosts. They actually had cue cards, not because they didn't know what to say, but because they didn't want to think under pressure. And so that's what your setup should do for you and you can have your own cue cards too. If you want to remember to say something, put some cue cards down that you can use over and over again in shows to welcome people, a reminder of what you need to say about, hey everybody, thanks so much for joining. I'm just running through some stuff today. Please bookmark my next shows. I've got some more stuff in my next shows, and I would appreciate the follow and bookmarks. Hey Lexi. So your setup should help to reduce your friction by keeping things easily in reach that you're going to need during your show. So your pens, your paper, your extra device, all those things all should be within easy reach. We're trying to reduce friction so that you can keep running your show as smoothly as possible. So we also want to reduce the number of decisions you have to make while you're live. So, for example, if you're doing shelf scanning and you haven't pre-listed anything, have little and I'm going to talk about this more later, but have little notes of like how much you're willing to sell it for. For example, I've just put up some more of my needle points because I sold some. And I've got little notes on it so that I know. So in a panic, if someone says how much for that, I can just quickly look and see. I don't have to try and remember. So you want to reduce friction. You want to reduce the number of decisions you have to make on the fly. Make My Beautiful says the little inexpensive desk lamps work well. Bend them over the jewelry and they illuminate and warm the area. That's a great idea. Make Mine Beautiful. I love that. Um, all right. So next up is inventory organization. Oh, I'm not liking this labels. Always remember to set up your printer before you hit print. Okay. So now let's talk about inventory, because this is where a lot of shows fall apart. A common approach is just to grab items as you go, but that can often create hesitation and downtime. I use what I call the system of touch it, run it, touch and run. If I touch an item, I run it. Now, if I'm doing a pre listed show, like on a raid train, everything I plan to sell is already selected, listed, and nearby, ready to go. I'm not digging, I'm not trying to search for it. I'm not deciding in the moment what comes next. I have it already pre set up and around me. So what I usually do is I will set up in so that I'm not searching for anything, is I set up my items on tables around me in a horseshoe, so that I'm kind of like surrounded by the things and I can just turn and grab. And then I label each section. So I'll have section A, and then the items are 1 through 10 in section A. So it'll be A1, A2, A3, A4, etc. And then I'll have the next section. I might split up a table into A and B, or I might have some shelves in front of me, and then each shelf is B, C, D, E. And I put that all around me so that when someone, because oftentimes if you're doing a pre listed show, someone will ask you, they've gone in and they've looked at your items and they say, can you run the fox? And you're like, oh my god, where's the fox, where's the fox, where's the fox? But you can say, what number is that? Or just tell people, just let me know what number you want, what letter and number you want. It is so much faster for someone to say, can you run A1, than it is for them to say, can you run the little fox? It's a lot, it speeds up your requests. And then it also speeds up, you can say, yes, A1, absolutely. Got it. Okay, we're going to run A1 now. And then all you have to do is on your device or on your second device, you go into your shop, you go to search, you type in A1, and if it was there, it would show up much faster than you having to, oh god, where is it? Let me type in fox. Oh wait, there's 3 foxes. Which fox is it? I've done that. It's annoying. It's annoying to me. It must be annoying to the people who watch. Um, Okay, thank you, Melody. So I may forget, so you may have to remind me. So that is a quick way. So if you're, say you're going A through G, you're gonna go and run that way, but someone asks you, can you run G5? You'll be able to quickly pivot without panicking because you know it's over here at G. And I do that for raid trains. I don't do raid trains very often anymore, but that's how I set up my raid trains so that I could be quick because I had limited time. I didn't have time to be searching around. I needed to move quickly. So everything was set up so that I could smoothly go from one to the other, but still acknowledge requests. The worst thing that I think you can say is, I'll get to that later. Now, sometimes I'll do that. If somebody comes in and I'm in the middle of running a whole bunch of Wade Whimsies and somebody asks me for something else, I will say, I will do that after I finish these Wade Whimsies because I'm not going to ignore my buyers I already have, right? I've already got a rhythm going. There's people buying stuff. If I was trying to sell Wade Whimsies and nobody was buying, then I'd go, yeah, absolutely. Let's pivot over to that. And then if you guys want to, we can come back to Wade Whimsies. But yeah, let's go do that. But I always want to be the upgrade that I want you to have in your shows is to follow your audience and be responsive to your audience. But if someone is trying to control your show and telling you all the things to run, um, that's a different thing. You want to follow, you got to remember that if you've got 15 people in the room, that one person shouldn't be controlling the entire show. Polka Dot Thrift Shop says, any other tips for raid trains? I have tons, but most importantly is pre-list, be prepared, um, run as fast as you can, make sure that you have good descriptions and condition on each one of your items, and make sure that you read the rules, and also get to know the person that's in front of you, the person who's going to be raiding into you. A tip that I was taught was, if the person before you, say, is running jewelry and you're doing vintage decor but they're running jewelry, have a some pieces of jewelry or some blingy things at the beginning. Hello, the old rusty coop. How are you? Have things that match that vibe at the beginning of your raid train to sell. So when they raid into you, you can go straight to stuff that they may be interested in rather than and I've seen this on raid trains. Yeah, hook them up. Yeah, exactly. Pinch packs. So like if you're on a raid train and it's like a sporty group of, like if you're on a mixed raid train and it's a bunch of sporty stuff and you don't have a lot of sporty stuff, but you might have a couple of cute little knickknacks and vintage decor that are like boy related or sports related, pull those to the front. Pull those to the beginning of your show so that those people who are coming in are more likely to, as Pinchback says, you want to hook them up, you want to grab their attention and keep them there for a little bit, because once they've bought a couple of things, they're probably going to stick around to see what else you have. It doesn't mean that your entire show needs to be the thing that the other person did, unless it's a raid train about that. If it's a raid train about sports things, then you do sports things. But if it's not, if it's a general raid train, you want to make sure that you follow the vibe. Also, um, if the vibe of the person, and you need to watch a couple of their shows if you can beforehand, you don't have to stick around for the entire show. Just go in, pop in, say hello, and watch their show for a bit. If their vibe is mass chaos and yelling, like loudness and everything, and that's not your vibe, I don't want you to start your show being super loud, but certainly turn it up a little bit. Turn up the volume just a little bit for the beginning of your show, so again, it's not a stark contrast. That would be one of my other recommendations. um and make sure you always thank the people who run the raid train. Make sure you thank them during your show and ask people to follow them, because they work hard. It is not, trust me, it's not easy running a raid train. Okay, so I talked about the shelves around. You're welcome, Polka Dot Thrift Shop. So that's why when I set up my shows for pre-listed shows, which I don't do very often anymore, but when I do, I letter and number everything and set it up in a horseshoe around me so that I can quickly grab whatever I need without even having to move. I can just pivot. That's all I need to do. I don't need to get up and go and get anything. Because the minute that you have to pause to figure something out or find something, you've lost some of your momentum. You've probably seen shows. I think we've all been in shows where the seller seems to spend more time looking for their items over and over again, one item after another, being like, oh my God, where did I put that? It's around here somewhere. They spend more time doing that than they do actually selling items. And during that time, the chat tends to go quiet. People lose focus, and some of them, if not a lot of them, will leave. So if you notice that you get some people into your show and then things drop off, this is a chance to go and watch your show again. You as a seller can go into your past shows and watch your past shows. You're not going to be able to read the chat. The chat disappears at the end of the show. You're not going to be able to read the chat, but you are going to be able to feel what it's like to watch your own show. I don't like doing that personally, but I do it often when I'm like, things really dropped off. What did I do? Good morning, Zoe's treasures. How are you? What did I do that lost me attention? Because I need to fix that in the future. So if you're feeling like um, you're losing your audience, you get people in and then they all of a sudden just drop off, go back and watch your past shows and see where you feel like you would leave yourself. Right. I think we all have felt that. Like, unless you're like, unless you love yourself a lot, you're gonna realize when, yeah, you know what? I would leave me. I would leave me right now. This is getting boring. This is getting annoying. And that's where you don't need to be perfect. There's no such thing as perfect, but you can always improve a little bit. Okay, so um when the chat goes quiet and people lose focus because you've lost your focus, that's not an inventory problem. That's totally a flow problem. When your items are organized and within reach, even if you didn't do pre listing, if you have your organized items organized and within reach, um, the show runs more smoothly and people stay engaged. And that's what you want. All right, we've done another label. Um, next. Next, we have a drop counter. It happens. So yeah, it does happen often. Shiny things. It happens to all of us. So product preparation. Preparation also means, hang on, water time. Everybody grab some water. Holland Girl says, so many people get distracted by raids and spend so much time talking instead of running, they lose all their new people. Yes, Holland Girl, totally. If you get a raid, you want to say, oh my God, Elizabeth Oda, thank you so much for the raid. You're awesome. Everybody follow Elizabeth Oda. And I will often just make that person, if I know them, if I know that person, I will make them a moderator and say, feel free to make an announcement about your upcoming shows. And then I carry on. And I don't do a giveaway. Because in Canada, it's really expensive to do giveaways. It costs a lot of money to ship a giveaway. We can't do stickers. We can't do like 93 cents for to mail something to somebody. We can't do that here. So I don't tend to do giveaways unless it's part of a raid train and I need to, or it's in a special event, or I'm doing my egg game. Otherwise, I don't do giveaways. I don't even do $1 starts most of the time when a raid comes in. I thank the person. I encourage the people in my room to follow that person. I give them the opportunity to make an announcement, and I carry on because that's really important. Auntie Barbara says, completely agree. Zoe's Treasures, who's in here right now, has a great raid script. I love that. So everyone should be following Zoe's Treasures, by the way. An amazing seller and does chat shows, really informative chat shows in the States. Back Halal says, mod them or communicate with your mods to acknowledge the seller who is rated. Yeah, if you've got good mods, they will already have said thank you so much for the raid, Bob Bing Bob Boo. And Shiny Thing says, I may do too many giveaways. I just thought everyone did them. It's totally up to you. That's just what I do. Here's the important thing about any chat show you go into. That you're going to find things that you agree with, and there's going to be things that you don't agree with. Take what you like and leave the rest. You're not going to agree with everything I say today, and you don't have to. And you don't have to do any of these things if you don't want to. That's the beauty. There's a million different ways to whatnot. I'm just giving you some of the tips of what works best for successful sellers. But yeah, it costs a lot in Canada. In the States, it's different because you have the PWE, plain white envelope shipping. It's so cheap. We don't have that in Canada. The cheapest that you can get a tracked, or we don't have semi-tracked even. I think is like $10 would be the cheapest. But we're such a massive, like, we're the second largest country on earth. we're this we're the second largest country, so we've got a lot of ground to cover. It doesn't look like it when you look at a map. You think that Canada is the same size as the United States, but we're huge. Alyssa Swoon says it costs me $14 to send sometimes new. Yeah. Um, Oftentimes I always find that the person who lives in the most remote area usually wins my giveaways. I swear they set it up that way. Pinch Pack says that's why weekly bundling was such a win. Absolutely. And the cool thing, so with weekly bundling, if most of your buyers are doing weekly bundling, which isn't for Americans, it's an option that hasn't come to you yet. Canada is currently testing it and we're loving it. With weekly bundling, I did a show later on in the week, and I think I did 5 giveaways because it was a celebration show, and 4 of those giveaways were to people who already had weekly bundling. So my cost for those giveaways for the shipping part was negligible. So and Australia's been testing it has had it, not even testing it, has had it for quite a while. And Beck is from Australia. It's like in real life stores, they always have different service terms, customer service, set up their shops with their vision. Same applies here. Yes, you can set up things exactly how you want. But weekly bundling, if you do giveaways later in the week rather than the beginning of the week. So if you do giveaways at the beginning of the week with weekly bundling, then you are unlocking shipping for that buyer. But I don't tend to find that a person winning a giveaway necessarily means, for most people, it doesn't mean that they're necessarily going to buy anything that week. So it does unlock semi-free shipping for them in Canada, but I don't think it translates into the buyers like you want. But if you do giveaways later in the week, you have a chance that some of your buyers who have bought from you during the rest of the week win the giveaway. But then it's also a crapshoot, right? You don't know who's going to win. I just think that if you give good value, whether it's in your show value or the item value, the starting bid, if you're giving good value, people are going to come back to your shows. They don't need giveaways to stick around. Buck says weekly bundling is really helping Aussie sellers. I just did 2 community shows and feedback has been very positive. I love it, Beck. I love it. We need to get you selling. We need to get you selling. So then, Beck, everyone, please follow Beck Halal. She's in Australia. She's been a huge community supporter in Australia and has started doing community chat shows as well because they don't have that down there. down there. So, Beck, you are amazing. I love you. Shiny Thing says, I only do one show a week. I've thought of doing more, but I'm worried I'm just showing the same inventory. Well, so, but you can always rotate in a few new things, and then yeah, you can show, like, you can repeat. The people who come in on Monday are not necessarily people who are going to come in on Wednesday. And also, the people who came in on Monday and watched your show probably were like, "Oh, I should have gotten that thing, but I didn't. Oh, look, Shiny Things is running it again. I'll buy it this time." Sometimes it takes 2, 3, 4, 10 times before someone sees something and goes, "Ah, you know what? I should buy that. Yeah, I'm going to buy that." And then suddenly there's a bidding war because someone goes, "Oh, wait, they want that. Oh, it must be worth something." And they start bidding. I've seen that. How many times has that happened to you guys where you have something that you've run a few times and it doesn't sell, and then you run it again, and then all of a sudden, um, it sells, but it actually gets a bidding war when you couldn't sell it to save your life multiple times. Um, yeah. Selling will be starting next 4 weeks. Yay, Beck! Awesome. Vintigui says different people also come in, and a whole lot of new buyers. I've had things from 3 years ago sell. Yeah, it's amazing. Um, yeah, and Beck says, and different people use the app on different days depending on life. Um, Melody says, it always happens to me, but only when I'm in a show and I ask someone to rerun an item. Yeah. Laura says, I noticed that a lot of sellers do buyers giveaways. Yes, buyers giveaways are a great idea. I I don't tend to do them because I just think I'm already doing I'm giving good great coupons and in my rewards club, and I'm starting low, so I don't do that. But again, buyers giveaways do keep some people in, and do encourage some people to buy. I just don't think that I think that you would still sell those items with or without the buyers giveaway. So it's just a nice thing to do, but also buyers giveaways legally it has to be allowed that you can fill in a form, um, and so a non-buyer could win that giveaway by filling in a form, which doesn't actually take that long. So you have to be okay because it's a legal requirement. You have to be okay with someone winning that buyer's giveaway who's not actually a buyer. So no butt hurt. You can't not send it to them. So I don't tend to do buyers. I don't tend to do giveaways period anymore. That's in Canada. Yep. It's basically around the world because it's a sweepstakes. It's a sweepstakes. So there has to be no purchase necessary. And that's why if you go to McDonald's and they're doing their Monopoly game or something, you can actually like there's a form you can fill out to get some pieces. Yeah, it allows you to bundle the freebies with their purchase. Yeah, and you can't pull it early. You can't pull it early? I thought you could. You could say get in on the giveaway for the buyer's giveaway and run it for like a few seconds. I thought you could. But I mean, the reality is that if you want all your buyers to get in on it, then you're sitting there waiting. Giveaways do help them with reduced shipping. Yeah, you've been. I mean, it lets you pull early. So it's new terms on giveaways. So you're no longer allowed to pull early. So I bet you it doesn't even let you do it. It probably sits there for the whole time because they'd have to like stop it in the system. So I mean, do them if you want to. God, I hate this dry mouth thing. I hate medication. Um, okay, so product preparation. Um, so buyers giveaways are different from giveaways. But I will read the new terms. I haven't read the new terms, but Sassy Vintage Chick says there's new terms on giveaways, so I will read that before the next one. Corey, what's up? How are you? Um, Sassy Vintage Chick says, and you have to have the legal jargon in description and must show and list the core items. Yeah, see, I can't just say a sticker. You have to show it now. Um, oh, Auntie Barbara, that's horrible. I'm so sorry that happened. I hope you reported that person. Um, I only pulled it early once because I was in a raid train and forgot to run it. I've done that. Oh my God, I'm supposed to run a giveaway. Shoot. Okay, so product preparation. Preparation also means knowing your items before you go live. This is super important. So if You want to check the condition. Condition is such an important part of selling the item. You want to check the condition ahead of time. And if you're pre-listing, put that in the listing so no one is surprised, especially if you are collecting pre-bids. Because the last thing you want to do is have somebody pre-bid on an item that has damage on it, but you didn't mention that damage. And so they didn't come to the show. They just pre-bid, they win the item, they receive it, and they go, wait a second, it you didn't say that it was damaged. I didn't know it was damaged. And then you've got a return on your hands or a refund on your hands. So understand what you're going to say about each piece and have a general idea of your pricing strategy if you're not pre-listing. So I often write myself notes on a tag about the item. Um, and when unboxing, sometimes I'll say, "Oh, look, left myself a note." Like for example, on this book that I sold the other day, I put that it's 1932 Oxford University Press. It's got foxing. There's the price that I had for it. I put that on a tag so that um, as I'm boxing things up, I tend to do that. I put down what I also will put down sometimes. I have a little code that I use to tell myself how much I paid for something. So if I have paid for something, I will make a little note to myself so that I don't accidentally sell it for less than and screw myself over. Um, so I write myself notes, the maker, the age, the condition. If I see a little boo boo on something, if there's a chip or a crack or something, I will sometimes take a little piece of painter's tape and I'll just cut a little bit and I'll put it beside the spot so that I can quickly go, oh yeah, I see. Hang on, let me show you that issue. Um, oh, that's not good, Beck. Definitely report them. What if someone asks to cancel and you tell them they can request to cancel, but they no, you can't. No, no, Melody. You say I cannot do that. Contact whatnot support because that dings you. So no. If they're still being like that, no, 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 you don't do that. No, if you want to cancel, cancel, but otherwise, no. Um, uh, Zoe's Treasure says, I love the painter's tape trick. I use that all the time. Yeah. So it's so much easier. Just put a little piece of painter's tape beside it. Even if you're going to unbox later, oh, look at that. It's got some painter's tape on it. I better look closer at that item. If I see that there's crazing, anything like that, Melody, then you'd have to tell them to contact support. Tell them to contact support, and then you contact support and say this person wants to cancel but refuses to cancel themselves. I don't know what to do, and send them screenshots. So you don't have to script everything, but if, for example, if I'm selling EAPG, early American pressed glass, I want to, if I looked it up and I know here's the maker and here's the pattern, I'm going to write that note to myself because I'm not going to remember it 6 months later or 3 years later when I pull that out of the box. So if I looked something up, I make a note on there if I'm not pre-listing. It also helps later if you're going to grab a box and do pre-listing later. You can go a lot faster if you've already made yourself little notes on things. And all you need is just a piece of paper. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. It can be a post-it note. It can be an old bookmark. It doesn't have to be a fancy tag. It does not. It just a piece of paper with some writing on it is all you need. Because I do like to tell the story about the item. I believe that your audience appreciates information, and my opinion is that an educated buyer is a less reluctant buyer because the information you give them about the item creates extra value, both practically and emotionally. If I tell you the story of Blue Mountain Pottery and what the glaze means and about the person who created that mold, that invests you more into that piece of that item and instead of just saying, and here's a fox, we got a fox, right? It's not you. So having those notes, if you don't already know that information, if that's new information to you, obviously I can pull Blue Mountain Pottery and talk about it till the cows come home. But if I have another piece of pottery that I'm not familiar with and I looked up the maker, I'm going to tell you about it. I'm going to make myself a note so that I can tell you about it later. So you don't need to have a script for every single item, but having a little point notes about that item that you can talk about when you're showing it do help. Um, And the other thing is too, a lot of people will put all that information into their listing. If you pre-list, they'll put it into the listing, but it's not it's not with them when they're holding up the item, and either you have to stop and click and read your own writing. It's much easier if you're pre-listing and you made certain notes about the item, put it on a tag or a little piece of paper, or a post-it note that you can attach so you can quickly grab and show the item and read that piece of paper at the same time with the notes on the information about that item. So even if you're pre-listing, not just unboxing. um so if because it also removes some uncertainty. If you're not sure about the item, if you're like, I don't know what this is, I can't remember, then that hesitation and that uncertainty passes on to your buyers. If you're unsure, they become unsure. But if you're confident, they feel confident. So clarity creates confidence. Confidence creates bids. Um, I also recommend that if you're doing a show, and you have a variety of items, that you group similar items together to create a flow, because it helps your show feel even more organized, even when you've pre-listed. So if you've got a bunch of brass things, run the brass things together. You can always come back to them later, but run the brass things together. Beck says sometimes on clothing shows you can use a color system. A yellow bow reminds you there may be a missing sequin. Yeah, anything that create your own system that's going to quickly remind you of things you need to look for. Absolutely. Um, so if you're doing a vintage variety show, and you have a few brass pieces, run them as a segment in your show. Think of it again like a live 1950s television show. They had segments. They had acts, just like in a play. They had acts. So think of it that way. That there's different segments to your show. You're going to do some small stuff, then you're going to do some glass, then you're going to do some brass, then you're going to switch to some jewelry, and have those segments in your show and have that pre-set up. Um, and always remember to come back to unsold items if you have the time, because new people arrive all the time into your room and they may have missed seeing something that they would actually love. And most people hesitate to actually ask you to run something. If they come into a show and they see, oh, they're already down towards the end of the stuff in the auction, they will often not ask. So um, rerunning things and saying, I'm going to run everything that didn't sell, I'm just going to run it one more time, gives those folks an opportunity to purchase something that they may have hesitated on. Also, even if you don't have a variety of things, if you say you're selling, for example, Time Hop Treasures, a couple of years ago, she had a whole bunch of these cake pans. They were vintage character cake pans. They were really cool, but very niche. And especially at that time in Canada, extremely niche show. But she had a whole bunch of them. So she pre-listed them all and she did a show and she ran through them. I think there were like 20. And she ran through them and I don't think she had sold more than one. And she was like, "Well, I've shown them all. I guess I'm going to go." And we all said, no, like, do it again. Run it again. Show us again. Go through it one more time because it hadn't taken her long. We said, go run through it again. Someone came in and bought like 5 of them. Um, she bought five of them. So Time Hop went from like basically a nearly no sale show to selling quite a significant number of them, for the fact that in that market at that time it was hard. It was hard to be a Canadian seller. She still managed to have a successful show and get good money for those really cool vintage cake pans. They were like brand spanking new. It was an awesome grab. And so she and yeah, and as Vintiquity says, Time Hop absolutely is the queen of selling out by running things over and over. So don't assume that just because you ran it once, people in the room aren't interested in it. People come in and out of shows constantly, and they often don't go and look in the auction tab, and they're not going to leave pre-bids. They're only interested in what's in front of them and what's running. So always touch and run. Vanessa, yes, feel free to ask questions, Janessa, Vanessa, absolutely. Pinchpack says we had someone ask to run something the other day, then apologize for being bossy. Yeah, I mean, if you feel like you're, a lot of people feel like they're being rude if they ask questions. Um, or ask you to run something. They feel like, oh, you're running through things in a certain order. I don't want to interrupt that. But you can often say during your show, make it a little cue card that's in front of you that says, tell people that if they're interested in something, that they feel free to ask me to run it, and I will run it. You don't need to wait. You can say that throughout your show. Um, Beck says you can even say, I'm going to go back through what I've shown, and if you want me to run, say run. Yeah, or I say tap hearts. Um, Tap hearts on the screen if you would like me to run that again, because it's even faster. It's faster to get a response from people, just and then nobody has to feel like I have to speak up and ask. It's anonymous, but it's still tap, like double tap the screen. Hello, a reworker's passion. Everybody, please follow Leslie, my friend Leslie. Welcome in, Leslie. So I mean, try it now. Double tap the screen. It's so fast, right? It's so fast, and I instantly see the hearts. So that does help, because it's really quick and easy to just say, if you'd like me to run this, I'll sometimes I'll say, okay, like I've gone through a bunch of weights. If anybody wants me to run more weights, just double tap the screen and I'll run some more. And that way you're not putting anybody on the spot that they have to speak up. People are shy. People are shy. Um, Dave from Alberta says selling pricier items is another struggle. It takes forever sometimes, but keeping them in the bin, that's how many of mine have sold. Yeah, if you have items that are of like, for example, if you look in my buy it now, right now, I have some irregular choice pieces that are rare. They're not going to go for next to nothing. They're in my buy it now, and I've sold a few of those pieces already out of my buy it now, because they're pretty cool items. They're pretty cool items. So yeah, put stuff in your buy it now. If you don't think it's going to run at auction, put it into your buy it now. Janessa Vanessa says, okay, lately I've been finding I can't sell above $8, and I'm talking pristine items, and I know it's not because it's not the right person. Well, hi, Janessa Vanessa. Where are you from? View profile. Do, do, do. Do, do, 182. Vintage. Oh, I love your cute little, I love the colors in your, I love the colors that you've got in your, that's very cute. I'm going to follow you back. Following. Hi, Janessa. Welcome in. A wonderful Canadian who's already sold 182 items. Congratulations. That is awesome. Everyone follow Janessa. That'll help out. You're near the Manitoba border. You're near Jeff. You're near megahertz. So yeah, I think it just takes time. It takes time to build an audience, and stick to your guns. Stick to your guns. $8 is still good value. um uh Says, because they have bought when I cave and lower the price. I've also seen influencers promote Whatnot as a place for deals. How do we work with that? So it is a place for deals, but it's also a place for quality items. So it's about selling the quality of the item, so telling the story about the item. So as I said just before you probably came in, is write down little notes that you can have on a tag beside the item, that things you can talk about the item, talk about the value of the item. What is it that makes this so cool? What is it that makes this something that someone wants to have? And then stick to your guns. The other thing you can do too, and this is a pricing hack from the retail world, is put that price up. Put that price to what you would ideally love to get. Think of it like a buy it now price. And then say, today only I'm going to run it for $8. Suddenly it's a deal. But if you start at $8, people are like, oh. But if you're like, if you pin it at 14 and then you run it for 8, now it's a bargain. Now it's a bargain. That's the way the brain works. Beck says utilize the platform tools to have flash sale items in your bin, announce it, and you can make sales that way too. Yeah, oftentimes if you ask me, so if someone was to say to me, hey, I see you have that cool Hello Kitty purse in your in your buy it now, that is such a cute little piece. And I will say, yeah, thanks for noticing that. It is cute, isn't it? Hang on, let me just run a flash sale on that. And I will literally run a flash sale. Because I'm tempting you. I'm tempting you. There you go, starting the flash sale. See, and you can just run a flash sale on it too. So you can offer a little bit of a deal, a little bit of FOMO, and 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 get some of that stuff moving. But the right buyer will come along eventually for this piece and other pieces, right? Um, Melody says, "Your stuff is so beautiful. I want a crochet hamburger purse." Oh my goodness! I forget me not vintage. Somebody was asking about how to light your jewelry so that it doesn't glare. You don't get glare from your lights. A whole bunch of people made recommendations. Um, Laura, I'd say do an introduction at the beginning for sure. Okay. All right. So we talked about that. New people arrive in all the time. We talked about that. Okay. So checklists and systems. Um, Sandwich, same thing. Close enough. Yeah, close enough. Um, Okay, checklists and systems. Having a checklist is one of the most powerful things you can do, not for the reason that some people think. It's not about remembering tasks, it's about creating consistency. So before every show, I go through the exact same process. I don't have it written down on a piece of paper, but in my brain, I've got a checklist. So I go through, I make sure my phone is charged and plugged in. I confirm my app is updated most of the time and my devices are working properly. I check my lighting and my camera angle every single time and I adjust because even now I'm a little bit slightly off. So I tend to adjust as much as I can. Um, I make sure I give my camera lenses a quick cleaning. A lot of people don't realize how much scourge you get on your camera lenses just by using them during the day. And then suddenly you're doing a show and it's fuzzy or it's just a little bit off. Give your camera lenses front and back a good little cleaning. Get one of those lens cloths and use that to clean your camera lens. What Liz Likes taught me that. Um, uh, I get my scale set up and make sure that the battery seems okay on it because I had one show where my battery died near the end of my show. So I was like, well, the scale says it's time to end the show. um, and I make sure I've got my pens, my post-it notes, and paper nearby. I also take a moment to confirm that everything I plan to run is accounted for and in the right place. Um, I make sure that I put my show notes. I make sure I got my show notes up. They're pretty much the same every time with just a little bit of blurb in between. Um, but I get my show notes. If you're using an Android device, you can import the show notes from your last show, which is really convenient. If you're using an iPhone, you can't, but just use an app like Keep Notes or a Notes pad and put your notes in there, and then you can just copy and paste it over to your notes if you use an iPhone. Um, so, what I want you to do for your checklists and systems is think about it um, like you're about to have a plane that's going to take off, right? When they always go through a list of things to double check that they have in front of them beforehand. Do I have my black light? Check. Do I have do I have a Sharpie? Check. Do I have my baggies? Check. Um Dawn to Dust says, how do you end a show with low value items, no buyers, saying you have three more $2 starts sounds sometimes silly to me. I mean, it's up to the person how you run your show. And if you have low value items that no one's interested in, then this might not be the place. D Archivist says, hi D. D Archivist says on desktop you can copy previous show notes too. Thank you, D. Yes, so I don't often use that, but uh it, that isn't a feature that unfortunately iPhone doesn't have. So for my Android friends who are like, I wish we had the iPhone features, there are some features that we have in Android that they don't have on iPhone. So, there are some benefits. Um, okay. Once you go live, you do not want to be fixing things. You want to be focused entirely on your show. Now, I'm a hot mess sometimes, so I'll be like, "Oh god, look at my hair. Oh god, oh, I forgot to do my nails." Those are things that I get distracted and I forget to do those things. But if you need to have a checklist, write yourself a checklist of all the things you need to do beforehand. Like go pee, grab yourself some water. Oh, I hate this dry mouth. Make sure you got pens. Grab a few pens, not just one pen, because guaranteed, Murphy's Law, if you only have one pen, it or a pencil, the pen will stop working while you're trying to run stuff, or the pencil will break while you're trying to write things down. Always have multiple writing utensils on hand. It's yeah, it's always the way. So make sure you've got or wear a pair, but wear multiple pen lanyards back because that pen is going to stop working. Forget me not Fincher says I always wash my hands before a show. Yeah, like this morning I was like I was moving stuff around, so I was like, I have to stop, go, and do the whole like just before Girl Guides thing where I grabbed the little cleaner and did my nails and everything. I didn't do my nails, I just cleaned them because your girl's done with the I'm too old for the hassle of getting my nails done. Dave from Alberta accidentally has a whole bunch of Sharpies that have managed to make their way home from work, and those work. Does anyone wear diapers to keep from having to stop and go pee? Laura, I don't know. I don't know if anyone has. Maybe some people do. I don't know. I don't. I mean, I'm older and, have given birth, so if I cough too much, I have a device to catch that, but in that um the try the new stick-on nails. I used to have the nails that you stick on back, but the problem is that when I go to ship, they fly off, and then it's always when the package is always in a whole pile. Um, there, D says, I did a 22-hour show. I ran a giveaway, muted my mic, and went to the bathroom. So there's the answer. And I know, like, when the Hodgepodge place, she did a 24-hour stream because she was going for the Guinness Book of World Records. Some people have. Time Hop has, I think, half of a set of nails back. She ran giveaway so that she could go to the bathroom. Yeah, and you don't have to announce that you're going to the bathroom. You can just say, I just got to step away for a second. I'll be right back. Everybody get in on this giveaway. That's all you need to do. Yeah, you don't need to say, I gotta go pee. Or number don't tell anyone if you have to number two. Nobody needs to know. Ashley asks, and if I missed any other questions, let me know. I'm sorry. Ashley asks, how do you determine weight for shipping? That's really important. What you need to do is make sure you've got a scale. I have I have multiple scales. Ooh, this one here is one of the ones I use. Yes, I managed to burn. I accidentally put incense in something and it fell on it. Anyways, it works perfectly fine. This one doesn't go as high as some other ones, so I use this just for my regular shows because it only goes up to 10 pounds, which is not good for shipping because I'm usually above 10 pounds. But having something like this beside you, then what you need to do is, so for example, let's play the game, shall we? Let's play the game. So if you've got something like this and you weigh it, hang on, it's about 5 ounces, right? But this is going to have to get wrapped up. Then it's going to be wrapped, then bubble wrap, then a wrap around it. Then it's going to go in a box. That box is going to have to be a sturdy box because we don't want any of these bunnies to get injured in their transport to their new home. So this is going to go from 5 ounces to more like 15. So I'm going to put it at 1 to 2 pounds to be on the safe side. Also, because I'm in Canada, and so our shipping boxes are 13 centimeters by 13 centimeters by 13 centimeters, which is less than 5 inches. So I always go higher. Um, right. Best time to sell clothes, Sonia, when you are available and have energy to do so. There is no perfect time anymore. Then there really isn't ever. Do when you feel the most energy. You can do tests and see if you can do mornings only, then do mornings. If you can do mornings and afternoons, then try morning shows and afternoon shows. See which ones you like best. Because it's not just about that you sell a lot. It's also about how you feel at the end of the show. So if you feel like afternoon shows feel better to you and that you have more energy and that you're enjoying it more, then those are the shows you want to continue doing and be consistent. You will build an audience from your enjoyment. Trust me. You're not gonna, this is not an overnight success thing. This is hard work. Um, yes. Okay, sorry. Gonna try and catch up. Kitchen scales are great for small to medium items, yes. Um, I've tried all times, very slow. Now try to be consistent. Yes, Sonia. The key thing is on whatnot is if you pick your time that you enjoy the most, stick to that time and do those shows on a regular basis. It takes 3 to 6 months to build yourself up an audience. It does not happen overnight. Some people it magically does, but for most people it does not. Um, yeah, do not trust your gold and silver weights with a kitchen scale. Absolutely. Um, and Janessa Vanessa says, I can only do evenings because of my day job. Then that is the perfect time for you. And last two have been super slow, but I know people just need to see that that's the time I'm always going to go. Yes, yeah. And Pinch Pack says your buyers will find you. It just takes time. It takes time to build an audience. And the best thing you can do is come into rooms like this and say hello and introduce yourself. And then when you have time, go into other people's shows and just say hi. You don't need to tip. You do not need to buy a sponsored giveaway. You do not need to purchase items. You can share their show. You can say nice things in the chat. You can be encouraging and you will build your audience that way. Um, Yeah, and Beck says that's the gift this platform gives us. We can work our shows around our lives. Absolutely. Um, Janessa Vanessa says, I'm a barber and it took me 1 year to build a full clientele, if that helps. Yeah, anything you do, if you open up a new business, they say that it's like you're not going to hit profit until the second year, usually. Tina, hi, Tina says, I'm a home baker and thinking of starting bake good shows. Um, is this a thing on Whatnot? Tina, are you in the United States or Canada? Let's see, view profile. If oh, it doesn't say. Okay. If you are in the United States, then yeah, it's a thing now. It is a thing now. You do need to apply to be a seller in the food category, the fresh food category. But yes, it's a thing now in the States. It's not a thing in Canada yet. I looked to see, and it's not a thing in Canada yet because I was gonna. I usually try to apply for any new thing that's gated. I try to apply for just cause to see, just cause I want to, if I ever decide I suddenly want to sell muffins, I can sell muffins. But there are it is regulated. So Beck says we have an Australian seller who makes candy live and sells. That's so cool. Yeah. So Tina, it's not yet available in Canada for selling fresh food. Um, Stamp Picker says, if you want to hear my story about my zero sales in my first 3 shows, please pop in a show and ask because it's hilarious. Yes. And Stamp Pickers is now Premier Shop in Canada. So when anyone says you can't be successful in Canada, I'm like, do you want me to tell you about all the Premier Shops I'm seeing popping up in Canada? There are a lot of people making good money and having great shows in Canada. It's all possible, but it takes time to build your audience and build your community. And that's what Stamp Pickers has done. D says, Whatnot is hard work. Just run items and show them. Listing quality is important. In the bin can buy it now. We call it the bin, can help too. Consistency is a thing. Um, Melody says, if we want to sell a few luxury items, not a full luxury show, yeah, if it's luxury, you need to apply. If it's luxury, you need to make sure that you apply because it's very important to Whatnot. Sonia said, I have listed over 100 items, but people still ask. People will always ask you if you have something else because you never know. You might, right? Um, Sandpicker says, now it's been 6 months of the last 12 months. I've been a Premier Shop, so please stick around and build the community. Absolutely. Okay. And we did it in a category at the time that didn't exist, stamps, but being consistent and offering more value uh, works best. I assume it does work best, not isn't works best. Does work best. Yes, that's what I thought. I was like, no, I don't think you meant that. Okay. Where were we? If you're confident, they're confident. Checklist. We did checklists. Environment and presentation. Okay. Finally, let's take a moment to look over your environment. Um, It depends, Sonia, what the definition of luxury is. So, like Dior and that sort of thing. Good morning, PJ Princess. Okay, so your background is just as important as your lighting is. Your overall presentation can all contribute to first impressions for buyers, especially if they're watching from the lobby. And because you can do that, you can watch from the For You page. You can hold down a button, you can hold down the thumbnail and it'll pop up with a pop-up now that shows you the live stream. So you can watch ahead of time before you pop into a show. So you need to think about, what are they seeing? What are they looking at? What is going to be interesting to them? Stuff in your background that's attractive for the things you sell is a great way to increase your sales. So if you are, so for fashion sellers, they usually have racks of clothing behind them because that's what people are coming in for. They're coming in for the racks of clothing. Um, so I think Ralph Lauren is fine. I'm not sure about Versace these days. But I would definitely just contact Whatnot to find out. And it's really easy to apply for the luxury. It is, or at least it was when I did it. Well, PJ Princess, it's just to make sure that there is no counterfeits. There's too many counterfeits out there in the world. So, people who are selling anything that's luxury, that's that high end level, we need to make sure it's not hard to apply. Nope. Okay, so your background, your lighting, and your overall presentation all are first impressions for your buyers when they enter your show. Um, John to Dust says, I face my camera at a whiteboard with a patterned or dark pattern on the table. I sell small items. Yeah. And you can add some little bits of interest. You can even like put on that whiteboard, you could put like your little logo or something so that when you like move off an item off screen and you have the next one, that momentary time, they have something that they can read, even if it just says, check the show notes for a coupon code, or thank you so much for coming. Anything that they can, that's not just blank, is a great idea. It can just be a little note. It doesn't have to be the whole thing, because you want to have that white space for what you're selling. Yeah, angle of your phone too. Sometimes people have so much ceiling. Yeah. And the thing is too, is if I angle like this, I'm way down here in the chat. I'm way down here in the chat. And so for me to show you the stuff, so the real estate for selling is up here above the chat, right? Because most people don't swipe away. The chat is in the way. So what you want to do um, is you want to make sure that you're using up this real estate here. So if you're you're gonna have to like hold it up above your head, and that just that hurts my arms. I can't do that. So early television producers, when everything was live, were incredibly intentional about their set design because they knew an audience would decide very quickly whether to stay or to leave. The same thing happens here. A clean, well lit, inviting setup signals professionalism and builds trust immediately. Um, let's take a poll. Do most people use their phones or computers? Genuine question. Okay, we'll come to that because I've only got this much left to do. So I want to get through that, and then I will try and go through the other questions we have that are not related to what we're talking about right now. So this Janessa Vanessa says, I try and put my phone up higher and angle it down so you can see my whole body for close. Yes, definitely. Okay, so now that you've done the work before your show, we move into what really makes the difference when you go live. So we're going to we talked about lighting and visual clarity before, but it is so important. Yeah, and as Elizabeth Otis says, it's really helpful to watch your past shows to see how you're coming across to your audience. Absolutely. Lighting isn't just about looking good. Again, if I turn this off, if I turn this sucker off, that's just the sunlight coming in from outside. It's about making your items easier to see and easier to trust. If you're looking at something, and it is hard to see because of the lighting, you're going to trust it less than if you've got nice, bright lighting. Thank you, Gabby. Welcome in. So you want to have nice, bright lighting so that they can see and trust what they're about to purchase, right? when you make when you make them confident about what they're about to buy, they're not going to hesitate and they're going to hit that bid button. Um, Now, camera and framing. So the camera is your storefront. The camera is your total storefront. So it should be stable and positioned at a comfortable distance, and framed so that your items are the focus without distractions. So let me just show you for a second, um, that there's different types of phone stands that you can get. And you don't have to spend a lot of money, on a phone stand. You can get very good phone stands for a little bit. So the phone stand that I have you guys on right now is a clip-on one that's on like an adjustable little. Um, it's just adjustable, and it's. Let me show you. Hang on. Do 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 do. So this is the one that I was using. It's on this little clip. Don't mind the chaos, and there it is right there. Now this is my favorite type. This one is articulated. You can get these on big um, the big platform that's named after a large river. Starts with an A. You can get them on there for like less than $20. There, you can also go to like Dollar Tree and get stands that aren't as articulated as this. The reason that I like these phone stands, and I usually use these ones, is hang on and let me show you. Bloop, sorry, just had to unplug. Now, it's much steadier. It also articulates so I can do more angles um when I'm showing items. I can it holds a lot better. It doesn't shake as much as this type that I had before. Sorry, I just shook the table. The other thing is too, is let me just move this over and we're going to focus on an item. Is with this being articulated the way it is, I can raise it up really quickly and it's still very stable. And then I can focus on an item and I can even do overhead shots with this. And it holds it really steady with the overhead shots. I'm holding it right now because I don't want to. So this is an investment worth making. And the bonus is, let me put you back in the other holder so I can show you. The bonus about this one, especially if you're doing live shopping or you're moving from one area of your house to another, the bonus I love about this, just need to make sure I plug you guys back in, is that it folds down to next to nothing. So, okay, I can't fold it right now. You get the idea. It folds down to next to nothing. And so it's easier for transport. But this is one of my favorites. It does cost a little bit more than going to Dollar Tree and paying $1.25 or $1.50 or whatever it was last time I was there, or Dollarama in Canada. And this one can rise up quite a bit and still be really steady. It has the foam on here to hold it in place. This phone stand is a good investment. And so I highly recommend. I don't have an affiliate link or anything like that. Y'all can just take a screenshot and or write it down and go out and find yourself an articulated one like this. Especially if you sell jewelry in that, it gives you the option of being able to go straight like this, which a lot of them don't. A lot of them don't give you that option to really do an overhead shot. Um, it's baby pink. I love that. I have a whole bunch of like I've if I see a phone stand for cheap or there's one in a thrift store, your girl buys them because I'm always being a squirrel and misplacing. So I never know where I put it last if I move from one place to another. So really important. Your camera is important, but also how your camera is being held. And if you're just using your phone, which most of us do, and I don't think you really need all the bells and whistles if you don't want to, having a good phone stand is worth its weight in gold. Um, Also, using a second device, as I said before, you don't need to have a brand new. You can just take one of your beat up ones. Maybe it's your kid, your aunt, your uncle, your mom has a beat up phone that still works well enough. It's just, the screen doesn't work perfectly. That can be your second device. You do not need to spend You don't need to buy the latest Samsung Galaxy, whatever they just sent me an ad for. You can just use an old phone. It does not have to be the latest, greatest edition as your second device. Um, Many people can't watch a show where the camera is shaking all the time. So let me show you. For example, um, if I'm if I start to use this phone to run things, nobody bid on this. If I use this phone to run things and I'm like switching around and it starts to shake, it starts to shake the phone, and that can be really annoying for people. So a good phone stand, having a second device helps you to keep the phone steady, that your camera doesn't shake because you're using this in order to pull things up and run a flash sale or whatever. It's all done, it's all done with the second device, so you're not booping this device and making it shake at all. Um, all right. Hey, right thinking, how are you? So, different types of phone stand. We talked about that, using a second device. Okay, now, when you are doing um, our old phones required. Well, Laura, if you use Wi-Fi, if you're using Wi-Fi, then you're just connecting to the Wi-Fi. If you're out in the field, then yeah. If you're out in the wild, you don't have enough hands, so I would say you would use the device you have. But um, if you're sitting at home and you're using Wi-Fi to begin with, then you're just connecting to Wi-Fi. You do not need to. This phone does not have a SIM card. This phone just runs off of Wi-Fi. You do not need to have a SIM card in order to use your phone as an internet connected device. So that does not have an extra SIM card. I don't do that. So you do not need to have that. Hey, Mary Lack, how are you? How are you? Love you. Um, phone stands when you're holding your camera. Okay, so when you're holding your camera because you're doing a shelf scan or you're out in the wild, um, when you're live shopping, a lot of people will. Let me see if I can show you. Come on, let's go for a trip. What? Ow. Okay, so I'm out in the wild and we're going shopping. We're going shopping in this amazing thrift store called Kim's Thrift Store. And so I start to show you things. Now, when I start to show you things, it's okay, Laura. This is how you learn, right? By asking questions. So if I right now I am just using my hands to hold this and show you things and scanning like you would in a scanning show. But what I find a lot of times is, and I'm trying to do this, is people will hold their phone and they'll be talking to their phone and they'll be looking at things, but they're not actually looking through the phone to see what everyone else is seeing. So they're like, oh my God, look how cute that raccoon is up there. Wait, that raccoon up there. Can you see that raccoon? Isn't that? Oh, there's that raccoon. You need to actually look into your camera. Use your phone to look through. Do not do anything but look through the phone. The phone is your eyes. You do not want to move your head. If you want to look at something, you have to move the camera over to look at it, because otherwise it's a hot freaking mess and you're not actually framing the items. And then also try and be as steady as you possibly can, because I've been in shows where people are scanning shelves and they do this. All right, we're going to look at this shelf. Oh, look at that shelf. Sorry if this makes anybody dizzy. I'll tell you when I've stopped doing it. So and they'll just like, oh, here you go. Oh, there's a whole bunch of things here. All right, let's move to this. And then they move too fast. I know, I love this little window thing. It's got broken spots on it, but it's very cute. um, Dee says I leave shows like that. Yeah. So, oh, sorry everyone. Hang on. I hate this clip. Ah, there we go. Why don't I just put on this holder? There. Now that I've done that segment, I can use this holder. Or you listen only. Yeah. That's hard to do sometimes when you want to see what they're talking about, but you can't look. Okay. No. There. All right. Back we are. Ooh, it's a little bit wonky. There. All right. I will catch up to the other conversation. Sorry everybody. Hang on. Okay. So, yes. All right. I did that. So if you're gonna scan shelves, woo, oh, do as I say, not as I do, y'all. Okay. Um, so when you are going to do a shelf scan or you're out in the wild thrift shopping, slow down. Slow down. It takes people time to type. Folks don't type fast. I don't type fast. And often I won't even bother typing because I'm like, by the time, if the person is moving fast, by the time I finish typing, can you go grab that chicken thing? They're already like 6 shelves down and then they'll have to like retreat, right? So I often don't stick around in a lot of live shopping shows because by the time I say something, it's long gone, and then the person has to talk to text helps. Yeah, but the thing is, pinch packs, you have to mute the person's talking, so you stop hearing what they're saying while you do the talk to text. So I'm never good at that. Um, Texas Prairie Lady says, I'm a visually impaired new seller. We're trying to come up with a way for me to show items and not be rolling all over the place. So yeah, definitely you might need to create yourself a little physical box. So someone help you to like so that you've got some sort of um something that tells your arms that you've moved out of frame would be my recommendation so that you know that this, if I feel myself move this way or that way, I'm going to be out of frame. That's what I would recommend is that you have some sort of physical barrier that will give you those clues. Tape on the table might help as well. Yeah. So if you are showing things, so a high contrast tape, if you're low vision, a high contrast color, um, like a black on a white table. You can buy Bristol board or whatever you call it in the States. Um, yeah, tape where your stand goes so your stand stays still, and then you can tape where your border is of where you put your things if you're not going to be front facing. If you're going to be front facing and you think you might move slightly, is having some sort of like, even if it's a couple of sticks that are being held up by boxes so that you just can feel that you're a little bit off of center will help too. Okay, so slow down. If you're going to do live shops or scans, a rug under your feet helps as well. Brilliant. Thank you, Dee. Every few items, if you're doing a shelf scan, do not wait for the chat to tell you what to sell. Stop every few items and do a touch and run. Touch the item and run it. Every few items. This gives your viewers time to type their requests. And remember, most people won't even say anything at all. Um, they make ooh, that I don't know if they CNIB might do that here. Canadian National Institute for the Blind. There might be something in the States too that does that too, Beck. You're right. Um, so remember, most people won't say a word at all, but will bid if they want something. So if you're doing a shelf scan, stop and run an item every once in a while. If you're in a thrift store and you really like something, touch and run it because you never know. If you love something, there's probably someone in your show that follows you because of your vibe and is going to love that thing too and will probably purchase it. So setting up your show and making sure that you have a solid how do I put this? You want to make sure that what people see in front of them on the camera has is clean and intentional, um, and makes the buyers feel more comfortable. So even if you are holding your phone and moving around, you want it to be clean and intentional in that you're looking at what they're looking at. You're focusing your eyes on your camera and not looking out away from the camera. Use the camera to move to look at things. Um, if everything feels cluttered and chaotic in any show, it creates uncertainty, and uncertainty can slow down bidding. But with that said, if chaos is your thing and it's working, work it, baby. Some people love the chaos. They love the feeling of the hunt. If you are a thrifter like me, I love a good hunt. Do what feels most comfortable to you. If you are the shit show queen, then you be the shit show queen, honey, and you work it. If you are the chaos king, be the chaos king and work it. Your people will come to you. The people who don't like chaos are not going to hang around, but the people who do love chaos are going to hang around. And those are your people. There is enough for everybody. There are enough buyers for everybody. We're not in competition with each other. We're only in competition with ourselves. So, everything that I say, take with a grain of salt. Take what you like and leave the rest. So if you do want to do chaos, then do freaking chaos. I'm not going to stop doing unboxings until I run out of boxes to unbox. So, is pre-listing the better way to sell? Yeah, probably. But am I going to do that? No, sorry, not happening. No, because I have too many boxes to unbox. So I'm just going to keep unboxing. May My Beautiful says, my set is usually alive with piles of jewelry and we go treasure hunting, sometimes finding Juliana and Hobie, did I say that right? In those strange places works. Yeah, isn't that fun when it's like all of a sudden you open something up and it's like, oh, oh my gosh, Vintiquity, when she does her unboxings and she just suddenly goes, oh, guess what? I was going through a cupboard and I found another box of jewelry. Hobie. Okay, Hobie, thank you. D'Archvis says number one demand unboxing. Yeah, I just love it. I love unboxing because also it's like, what the fork did I just buy 3 years ago? I can't remember, and now I get to see it again. I'm like, oh, this is cute. Oh, I forgot about this. Like, I went through a whole box of like Coca-Cola stuff that I'd totally forgotten I had, and there's like a Coca-Cola salt and pepper grinder, and like Coca-Cola. Like, who thought that a Coca-Cola pizza cutter was necessary? But I sold it. I sold it. I didn't know we needed one, but someone did. So there you go. Thank you, Dragoda, again. I love you. Um, so we've talked about camera and framing. Audio and sound. Audio is one of the most overlooked parts of a show. I know this Coca-Cola stuff was cool. Audio is really important. It has a huge impact. People will tolerate less than perfect video, but they won't stay if they can't hear you properly. Speak clearly, keep your background music low, and check in with your chat early on to make sure that your sound levels are good. Thriftworks, what's up? Everyone follow Thriftworks USA. What's up? How many did you get to? I had to leave because I had to set up. So how many did you get to, love? 13. Ooh, well, that's better. You were at 12 when I left. So good for you. What is good music background? I don't use any music in my background, Texas Prairie Lady. I think it's up to you. I mean, it depends on the vibe of your show. Well, you got 2 more weeks, Darren. I think you're gonna get there. I think you're gonna get up to like 25, as long as you can work on that gag reflex. So, take that quell. Maybe take 2. You might be sleepy afterwards, but take it just before. So if people have so with background music, please note that legally you're not supposed to play copyrighted music in your background. Legally, do people do it? Yes, but should you? No. You can get lots of royalty free, copyright free music. You can just even ask like your Alexa or your Siri or your whatever to play some royalty free music. I find that I am music enough for everybody's ears, and I find it distracting, so I don't play music in the background. Um, it's stuffing marshmallows is a thing, I know. um, so I don't play music in the background in my shows because I found it really distracting. I got distracted, my brain went squirrel and wanted to start singing along instead of doing what I need to do. I mean, I get distracted in my shows without music, so I don't add that on to the joy of it. So, I think that it's totally up to you, but keep it low. Also note, if you're using your phone's microphone, it tries to concentrate on the sound in front of it rather than the sound that's in the background. So oftentimes it will sound a little tinny if you've got a speaker playing in off to the side of you and it's not like right in front of you, it will sound really tinny. Yeah, and Bluetooth speakers will fight with your voice to connect, which is a whole other thing. Turn off Bluetooth if you're not using a Bluetooth microphone. Um, but your phone is actually designed to try and pick up on the sound right in front of it. So it's just trying to detect your voice and working with that, and it tries to sort of filter out any of the other background noise. Because how many of us remember old cell phones that didn't have that feature, and how hard it was to hear anybody when they were trying to talk to you on a cell phone if they were in anywhere that there was any sort of background noise? I remember spent like $750 on a phone and nobody could hear me unless I was like in a quiet room. Um, so so uh Right Thinking says I long for a world without cell phones. iPhone has a setting to cut out the background. Yeah, so you can completely cut out the background. Um, and my Samsung device ended up making the background music sound really tinny. And I mean, when I'm in a show and I hear the tinny music, I have to turn down the volume because I it actually drives me nuts. I can't stand the tinniness. It hits something. It hits with like my tinnitus, and I'm like, "Ugh." Um, so I recommend no music in the background. But if you are going to have music in the background, turn it down. You don't want it to be competing with your voice. Um, if you find that if people have trouble hearing you, the brain, this is how the brain functions. The brain actually rejects the situation. The uncertainty is uncomfortable to the brain. So if you're having trouble hearing you, the brain gets super uncomfortable and wants to leave that situation. So you're going to lose viewers. If your phone audio isn't great, or you are going to be standing away from your phone. So, for example, if you're a clothing seller and you've got all of your racks behind you, fair distance away, so say more than 6 feet, I want you to do some tests of the sound to see what it sounds like when you're speaking to folks when you're standing back at your racks. You want them to still hear you clearly, as clear as when you're standing right in front of the phone. So that change in volume is also very uncomfortable to the brain. So my recommendation for sellers whose phones aren't going to pick them up very well when they're back here, if they're 6 feet back, pretend this is 6 feet back. Um, get yourself a lavalier microphone. They're not that expensive anymore. Get yourself a lavalier microphone. Yes, it will connect to Bluetooth, and I'm not a fan of Bluetooth because I don't trust it, because I remember in my day Bluetooth didn't work very well. But get yourself a lavalier microphone so that the sounds remains the same no matter where you are standing in the room. Especially when you're holding up items far away from the camera so you can show them the whole outfit. You want the sound to be just as good as when you're standing in front of the camera. um D'Archivist says you can even plug in your phone while charging. I use one. Big difference. Yes, it makes. I love the sound. I love the sound quality in your shows, D. They're always like on point. Um, your audience is going to appreciate being able to hear you. Their brains are going to appreciate it, and you will be better able to describe and sell your items. Being heard is so very important. I cannot stress it enough. Clear communication helps keep people engaged and reduces frustration. It's all about reducing that friction. We talked about it in the setup, reducing friction for yourself in how you're going to run your show, reducing friction um, when you are reducing friction for your audience is important as well. And Beck says, just remember to mute the Bluetooth mic if you have to get up and use the facilities. Yes. Or take it off and leave it on the table. Don't even take it with you. Okay. Show flow and control. This is where everything comes together. Everyone have a drink of water. And any questions that you've asked, I will get to them, I promise. I've only got 4 more pages, 3.5 more pages. This is where everything comes together, is your show flow and control. When you're live, your role is not just a seller, but you're also like an early TV show. You are the show runner. So your job is not just to present items, it is to manage the experience. So momentum is the most important element of a successful show. Shows that run faster, that still slow down to actually provide information and clarity about the item, but that don't have major pauses in between. Those are more successful shows. When things move smoothly, people stay engaged. When things slow down or it feels uncertain, attention will drop and you will lose your audience. You don't need to rush, but you need to stay intentional. So move from one item to the next with purpose. Keep your transitions clean and avoid long pauses as much as possible. Again, do as I say, not as I do, because I'm a hot mess. Anyways, and remember, if you touch it, run it. That one habit alone, touch it, run it, can dramatically improve the flow of your show. I often see fashion sellers. We do Fashion Fridays. There's a lot of fashion sellers that have come on to Whatnot Canada. Um, I see fashion sellers grabbing items from the rack and quickly showing it, but then not running those items. A minute later, a person in the chat asks for that item to be run, but the seller has already moved to another rack. Um, touch and run 10 to 15-second auctions. You do not need to do 30-second auctions. In fact, I feel like that's an eternity. um, 10 to 15-second auctions, touching and running a few pieces, even when you're going through a rack, um, does translate into more sales. Don't wait for the requests. Run things until you see requests. This is so important if you're going to do a scan show or a live shopping show. Is stop every once in a while and touch and run. Don't wait for requests to come in. Show some stuff, sell some stuff, and tell people, make your requests. I'm going to run this item. Let me know if there's something you want to see. That is so important. Yes, HDC is right. It would be great if Whatnot changed the timer to start at 15 seconds instead of 30 seconds. Yes, because so many of us, hi, my name is Kim, um, end up accidentally doing 30-second auctions all the time. Sarsaparilla says, when you do a live thrift show or scan show, are you just guessing weights? No, don't do that. Bring one of these with you. I know mine's really ugly right now, but bring one of these with you. Bring a scale. There's Weight Watchers ones that are really thin, that you will often find at thrift stores because they give them out when you join Weight Watchers. They give you a scale, and then people quit Weight Watchers and donate it at thrift stores. Yeah. Don't try and guess the weights, because in Canada, if you guess the weights, it's gonna cost you in shipping adjustments. Um, uh, right thinking says, if you don't have stuff preloaded in the store, but if you do, and someone requests you run a pre-bid, I think you should run the pre-bid. Yeah, is it unless you are trying to. The thing is if you don't run that pre-bid, you're going to lose those bids because they don't translate over to the next show. Ooh, 30 seconds is long, especially if you started describing before running. Yeah, you should always describe any of the issues and describe the item and its condition before you hit run, because someone could bid on something and then you say, oh, and by the way, it's got a big crack in it, but they've already bid on it, right? You should always tell them condition issues before you hit run. Yeah, Vintiquity says, do as Kim says and not as I do when live thrifting. I've been an online seller for 20 years, kind of know what something weighs. Yeah, and I'm at that point now where I grab something and I'm like, yeah, you know what? This feels like it's going to go into large. I still double check because I've been wrong before. I've been wrong. So I'm not at Vintiquity's level of being able to weigh something in their hand. I know I can tell. Like I think it's going to be a 2 or 3 pounder, but I will double check just to be on the safe side. I've done that where I've tried to use my intuition and have failed miserably, so I don't trust myself. um okay, chat engagement, another way to upgrade your shows. Your chat is not just watching your viewers, they call it chat. um you They're participating with you. Even if they don't say anything, they're participating with you. Engaging with your audience makes your show feel interactive and personal, and that is one of the parts of the secret sauce of Whatnot, is that interaction with your customers. So if you interact with your viewers more, even if nobody's buying, still interact with your viewers. Ask them how their day is, then answer yourself. If you ask a question of your viewers, make sure that you answer the question yourself, like, what's everybody doing today after you finish watching my show? I think I'm going to try and clean up this room after I eat something. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. How about you guys? Um, Greet people when they come in. Acknowledge bids. Now, if my show is really busy, I will not be saying hi to every single person. When I'm doing these chat shows, I can't stop and say hi to every person, or otherwise I would just be saying two words, saying hi, saying two words, and we'd never get anywhere. Um, Acknowledge bids, thank people for their bids, and importantly, thank everyone who bid, even if you don't remember everybody's name. So thank you so much, Vintiquity, for buying that piece of Blue Mountain pottery, and thank you so much to Dee for your bids as well. I appreciate you all. I always try to do that because I think it's really important to acknowledge all of your bidders. Um, Ask simple questions to keep the conversation going. We talked about that, Kim. Even something as simple as, should we run this? If you think I should run this, tap hearts on the screen now. Just double tap the screen for hearts, and I'll run this item. Even that little bit of interaction, thank you for doing it, can create a moment of involvement that keeps people feeling invested. I will often, so when I'm doing my unboxing shows and I say, okay, I've got like 6 boxes to go. And what do you want me to do? Do you want me to do box number box number 1, 2, or 3? And then I will say, I'm going to run a couple of items, but I'm going to do a poll first. I will quickly type up a poll. It does not take much time at all. I just put next with a question mark and I put 1, 2, 3, and I hit start poll. And then I run a few items while the votes are coming in. I don't stop and wait for everyone to vote. I like run some items and then I say, okay, 5 seconds. I'm going to close the poll. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I close the poll and then that's what I run next. People love that because they get a chance to be part of the decision about what's coming next. Bright Thinking says the worst thing is when something doesn't sell and the seller says stuff like, "What's wrong with people today? Is everyone cheap?" Yeah, don't do that. Yeah, negativity does not work well on Whatnot. It will not get you far. You just say thanks so much for looking at that. Let's move on to the next thing, because imagine if you were in a mall and you were working in a Hallmark store. I always use this example, but if you go into a Hallmark store, they've got tons of stuff on their shelves. So you go in there on Saturday morning and they've got all their shelves are full of stuff. And at the end of the day, on Saturday night when they're about to close, do you think that they turn around and look at all that stuff on their shelves and say, "Well, nobody wanted that. I guess this stuff isn't worth selling." And they like clear the shelves and then they reload the shelves with new stuff on Sunday? No, they don't, because it just means that that Saturday, the right people didn't come in that were interested in that item. But the next day, or the next day, or the next Saturday, or the Saturday after that, or a Monday afternoon, someone's going to come in and buy that item. They don't restock their shelves every single time and say that thing didn't sell, therefore forget about it. It's not worth selling in this mall. Nobody wants it in this mall. I tried it once and nobody wanted it. No, Whatnot is a place where different people are going to come into your show all the time, and sometimes the person who saw it 3 or 4 times in your other shows suddenly is like, you know what, yeah, I've been looking at that and I've been really interested, but I wasn't too sure. Just like when you go to the mall and you're like, I really want that t-shirt, but not today, I can't today, but maybe next time. And then one day you finally go into that store and buy that t-shirt. It's the same thing. Do not assume that just because it didn't sell that one time or Whatnot that it's not going to sell another time. If if that's not the way retail works. Um, I love it when the chat tags someone because it's their style. Yeah, L, that's a good point. And when someone's like, "Hey, so and so, you need to come in and check this out because this is totally you." I used to get tagged every single time there was a rooster or a chicken in anything because I would come in and buy. I stopped doing that because I had way too much chicken stuff now. But I used to get tagged anytime there was any sort of rooster in something. I still get tagged every once in a while, but people know now that I'm not going to necessarily come in and immediately purchase. But yeah, and peacock gets tagged when there's peacocks. Yeah. So uh, if reading the chat is challenging for you, that you need reading glasses in order to read the chat on your phone screen, then set up a laptop or a computer off to the side to zoom in on the chat part, and I'm going to show you. This is especially important for fashion sellers who are often usually standing far away from their phone screen. So let me show you. Okay, so I set this up beforehand. So this is my laptop. This is the show, as you can see. And what I did was I just pinched. I have a touch screen. So I just pinched it so that I can read the chat. Right there. Hello everyone. And that makes a huge difference. So if you can, if you've got a computer or a laptop, or I mean, I have a Samsung TV that can connect to my phone, so I can connect this phone to my Samsung TV, and I could have that on the background, and it would blow up the chat really big. Hi, I said groovy. So that would be my recommendation, is so that you're able to read the chat and interact with the chat. Make sure that it's like this one I have off to the side because of the way my setup is today. I can't have it right beside me, but ideally what you'd want to do is have it at eye level, right close to in front of you, so that when you're looking at the chat, when you're looking at the screen here, you can quickly read the chat without moving your eyes too far away, so it doesn't look like you're like constantly looking over here all the time, right? You don't want to be like this. Um, okay, so there we did that. Oh my God, we're almost there. And then we can get to your questions. Okay. Saying hello and interacting with your audience is really vital and should never be overlooked. So if you are not engaging with your chat, then you need to start practicing to do so. Um, and one of the ways that you can do that, this is an auctioneer training trick, that my that my auctioneer trainer told us to do to practice our chant. But here's what I want you to do. It's similar to what we have to do to practice our chant, is go into other people's shows and start pretend like you're the seller. Mute the seller and go into other people's shows and just start practicing on their chat, interacting with those folks. And so saying, hello, Idaho Flippers. Thanks so much for coming. Print Condition, what's up? It's good to see you. The gym leader, Brock, welcome in. Welcome in, everybody. Thank you so much, Dave, for doing that and being such an awesome mod. That's practice on someone else's show. Just put them on mute and just start pretending like it's your show and you're interacting with the chat and greeting people as they come in. That is a way to practice without having to ask people to just come in and fake it for you. You can do rehearsal mode. There isn't a mode that all of us can still use, even if we've been a seller for a long time, called rehearsal mode. You can learn more at help.whatnot.com. But you can just cheat and just go into anybody's show. Try a slow show first. Try a show with fewer viewers, and then work your way up into a busier show with a lot more interaction in the chat, and start practicing reading the chat and responding to the chat. It'll make a huge difference in your own shows. All right, that's my pro tip for today. Buyer experience and psychology. All right. Oh, water. Everybody drink water. Okay. At the end of the day, people aren't just buying items from you. Whatnot is an experience. It is shoppertainment. So they're responding to how that experience feels and how they feel when they're with you. Love you, Dee. When your show is clear, confident, and engaging, it creates an environment where buyers feel comfortable taking action. If things feel confusing and uncertain, they hesitate. So that's why clarity and consistency that we've talked about throughout this show really matters so much. Your presence sets the tone for the entire show. And here's something really important. Be yourself. The biggest upgrade that you can do is be yourself. If you're a hot mess, be your hot mess self. Love yourself because you are awesome. Be yourself because you are awesome. Don't try to be anybody else. Don't try and fake it till you make it. Be yourself. Yes, Beck says always be authentically you. Be yourself. Everyone else is taken. You can only be yourself. So be yourself. That just being clearly yourself and being comfortable, even if it takes you time to be comfortable. It's okay to also say, I'm nervous right now, or you know what, I'm a little, I'm a little anxious today. So bear with me. Be honest with your audience. They will love you for that. You are not just a show, right? You are you are yourself, and this is true reality TV. This is you being you. So be your authentic self. Anything else is going to get the sniff test, and people are not going to stick around for it because it's not sustainable. You cannot fake it for very long. This is why I always say when you're dating somebody, 3 month rule. 3 month rule, because it takes 3 months, and usually after the 3 months, they can't sustain whatever it was that they were faking. 3 month rule. I said Groovy says, I love the hot mess people's shows. I thrive on chaos. The Archivist says, be you and invest in yourself, be consistent, and ABS. Always be selling. Absolutely. Don't stop selling. Um, Stephanie says, I'm sometimes a hot mess and sometimes chill. Yeah, and that's okay too. You can be whatever, just be yourself. If you're having a crappy day, if you're having a day where it's like you don't feel that great, but you do a show because you feel great enough to do a show, but you can just say, you know what, I'm so tired today, or I'm so hungover today, or the kids kept me up all night, so I'm a little bit slower today. So bear with me, folks. People love that. They love being able to interact. We miss that. The pandemic took away that interaction with real people and made it so fake and so foreign and so disconnected. So connect with your audience. They will love that. The Archivist said, I did not want to go live last night. I showed up and we had a deep conversation. I love that. See? And I mean, the connections that you made last night, D, are going to last forever. Those people are going to be so connected with you from now on because you had that deep conversation and opened up, right? I mean, I think that's awesome. So one of the biggest shifts you can make as a seller is stepping into a leadership role. You're as I said before, like it's a television show, an early 50s television show where everything's live. You are the leader, you're the showrunner. So give yourself permission to be the leader of your show. You don't need to ask permission to sell an item. Touch and run. Don't wait for someone to ask you. Start selling stuff right away. And if you get, and say you're open to requests, if you're open to requests, and run those requests and then go back to selling more stuff. Don't wait for the next request. Don't sit there and wait. Don't pause. Your job is to present things clearly, to run it confidently, and guide the process. When you lead, when you run your show your way, your buyers will follow. It does take time to build an audience on Whatnot. It's not going to happen overnight. So do not give up before the magic happens. When you hesitate, thank you, Dee. Thank you, thank you. um, every show you do is an opportunity to learn. So watch your past shows, see what you can improve. Um, Make notes on your past shows. Where did you start to lose focus, or where do you think? Um, oh, Dee, thank you so much. But I'm on YouTube, so you can just watch on YouTube. Thank you, though. I love you. Watching your past shows and noticing what worked and what didn't, and making small adjustments over time is how you improve. And you should always be looking to improve little bits. Again, you're never going to get to perfection. Perfection is a false. Thank you, Dee. I love you. You're awesome. I love you so much. Everyone follow my friend D Archivist, who also does great chat shows. She is amazing. So when you watch your past shows, notice what worked and what didn't. Make small adjustments. You do not have to change everything about your shows. Make small adjustments over time. That's how you improve. The best sellers on this app are not perfect at all. In fact, they're far from perfect. But they're consistent and intentional about getting better. So I want to leave you with this, and then I'm gonna go back to everyone's questions. I promise. I want to leave you with this. You don't necessarily need better inventory. You don't need expensive equipment. You don't need everything to be perfect. What you need is good preparation, good flow, and a stronger presence. Because when you upgrade your show, everything else improves with it. And also remember, most people in the chat, 99.9% of the people in your chat viewing, talking to you and viewing, are rooting for you. And I'm rooting for you, and I believe that you can do it. So that's it. That's it for that. Okay, let's go to questions. Hey, Liz. Hey, Liz, you heard me talking about you. Everyone follow what Liz likes. Okay. We answered the diaper question. 24-hour marathons, but I'm so close. Sorry, just scanning to try and get to the questions. If you have a question, type it out and make sure you put a question mark so that um I can get to it. Holland Girl. Holland Girl says, I live in Canada half the year and in the US half the time. Can I where did it go? Can I become a seller in both countries? How would I make that work? Tariffs, postage. Okay, so yes, you can create a secondary business in the United States. You would need to incorporate it if you're a Canadian and you're going to run a business in the United States. I did to look into this a while ago. You do have to have two separate accounts. So you would have a Holland Girl Canada and a Holland Girl USA. So you'd call it Holland Girl USA. So your Holland Girl USA account, you'd have to apply like everybody else. And when you're approved, you would need to make sure that you have a registered business. Now you can look that up, you can Google it. There are different states where you can register. You don't have to register in the state where you are 6 months of the year. You can register somewhere else and you get basically an agent who operates on your behalf. You need to make sure that you're paying all your taxes and doing all the right things. And you also have to claim that income in Canada too. So you have to claim it in the US and you have to claim it in Canada. So you got to do all that paperwork. So I highly suggest, especially for United States taxes, that you hire a tax expert for that. But it is possible, but you do need to have two separate accounts to run it. You cannot sell in the United States with your Canada account and vice versa. Um, Right Thinking says, are other non-Canadian users seeing a banner across the top that says shipping will be more expensive? I try to click it off, it won't leave. Yes, yes, and actually, Right Thinking, there's a box that pops up, but if you dismiss it, I think you don't see it again in other shows. But they also put it at the top because so many US buyers are coming into Canadian shows. They're buying from Canadian shows, then they're getting that bill from UPS and they're getting they're very they get very upset and they refuse the item and then they send it back and then the seller is receiving two bills. They're receiving a bill for the customs going down and then the customs coming back up, and I've seen people get bills of like $75 US to get a returned item that was less than that to send. So yeah, they're it's annoying, but it's an important warning that needs to happen. um Dawn to Dust asks, is it possible to do live on-site shows from the thrift store or other stores? Yes. Yes, you can. In fact, it's a lot of fun. My recommendation is that you go in first and ask the manager. You may have to show them what whatnot is because most people don't know. But you just say, look, I'm going to go in, I'm going to shop, I'm going to try my best not to show anyone else's face. It's just going to be my face and the items, and you say like, I'm going to buy the stuff, people are going to buy the stuff off me, I'm going to buy it off you, you're going to get your money today. And so don't worry, because a lot of times they think, oh, like you're going to try and buy it and then I'm going to get my money later. No, you just tell them I'm going to be buying it. Most of them get it now. And I have like a couple of thrift stores where I just walk in now because the manager has given me permission, so, and the staff know me, so they actually get upset when I go in and don't go live now because they're like, aren't you going to go live? I look at the cool stuff I have over here you could sell, because they appreciate it. Most of them appreciate it, but always ask permission first. And give yourself that extra time to do that if you haven't been there before. Um, because and make sure you test, really important. If you're in a big store that goes far back, make sure you test that your signal is okay. In one thrift store, I they actually gave me their own Wi-Fi signal so I could keep selling because I couldn't get a good enough cell phone signal. Um, to 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 and you get a constructive Beck says, if you get a constructive review, don't take it personally. We're all human, take it on board. Yes, absolutely. I think it was super important to if you do get a negative review, don't react right away. Take a hot minute, take a breath, and then write it out and then read it out loud to see how it sounds. Um, And that's super important. So Genji says, how do you make money doing that though? People pay the price listed? No. So what most, a lot of, so there's multiple ways of doing it. So I tended to do a set amount, so it would be like $5 more than the item. Some people do a percentage, so it's the item, the tag price plus 50%. Other people, like one seller in the US that I don't know if he still does it, but when he did it, he would he would just decide, he had his own antique store, so he knew exactly what the value was going to be in his antique store and what he could get if he brought it home and sold it on Whatnot, or sold it as an antique store. So he would literally say, like, he would just ignore what the price said on it. If he thought he could get $20 for it, he would run it for $20. So it's totally up to you how you want to do that, but make sure that you are taking into account, if you're in a for-profit thrift store, you're going to pay taxes, sales taxes, especially in Canada. You're going to pay HST. Um, and so add 13 or whatever percent wherever you live onto it. Plus, then if you sell it on Whatnot, you're going to be paying 8% plus payment processing fee. So I usually like round that up to 15% just because it's easier to calculate. So then that's like 30%. I don't tend to go into thrift stores that are for profit. I use the nonprofit ones because then you have less costs. All right. And also, I think it's better to support a charity, in my humble opinion. All right, I'm gonna just scroll back up, see if I've missed anything. If I've missed a question, please repeat it. I apologize. um Beckel says refer to the show notes about US shipping costs. Yeah, and I also add in, if you're a Canadian seller, or you're an international seller and you're worried about, I don't know if I have it in here right now. I don't. I always forget to do it in my chat shows. I have this. Do do do. No, maybe I don't. Is it in inactive? No, it must be in my show then. US sellers. No, it's not in either. Oh my god, where did it go? Did somebody report it? God. Thank you, Genji. D Archivist says, I've done doubles, so doing thrift store, if you do a live shop from the thrift store, I she doubles the price unless it's a banger. I'm creating a personal shopping experience. People pay for it if they want it. Yeah. And Vitiqui says, be careful how you set prices, especially if buyers use their coupons. Yeah, because if you've got really good coupons, hi, my name is Kim, you could end up basically subsidizing that item that you had to fork out money for, right? So be very careful. Can't tell them not to use their coupons, but it'd be nice considering only adding a few dollars. Yeah, I've been there too. Why do I not have the US? I wonder why here it's going. Maybe it got reported. Maybe I just didn't type it right. There it is. Yeah, I just didn't type it right. There we go. So this I put in all of that, that's down below. I put that in all my selling shows to sort of help a little bit. I don't tend to get US buyers because of it. But then if you are, so for example, a crazy bead lady, she has these statement brooches that she makes that are like, they're one of a kind. She makes them. It's an art. It's a freaking art. It is a piece of art that you buy from her. She is selling at very good prices. They're good for her prices. They're fair, but they're very good prices. She has a lot of US buyers still because they know that what they're buying from Canada is worth spending the extra money for the UPS fees that you're going to get. So it's all a matter of, I'm not running at that kind of level. So I try and discourage US buyers because I know that they're not going to be happy. They think they got a bargain because they only paid $8 for an item and then they get a bill for like $25 US, right? They're not going to enjoy that. So I try to discourage, but there's a lot of US buyers who are willing to spend the extra money because they understand the value of what they're getting. And that's the key thing. So, okay. Any other questions? Otherwise, we are going to. I did have a request for who to raid. So, last call for questions. I will be back on. I will be. Sorry, dog hair everywhere today. I will be back on Tuesday. Um, so I'll be back on Tuesday. I'm going to be doing a lot of shipping over the next couple of days because I got a lot of stuff to pack up very carefully to ship. This show is available to rewatch. So if you've missed anything or you want to catch something that you couldn't remember what I said, or you just want to watch it again, this show, like all of my chat shows, is available on my YouTube, my Twitch, and on Facebook. So Genji says, how do I convince my cat not to steal the jewelry in my shows? Treats, lots of treats, a bag of treats, and just keep tossing them away from where you are. That's what I do with Loki. It's pretty much the same thing. Loki tries to interrupt. Treats, and more treats. Yeah. Your cat may get fat, but you know what? You can maybe take it for a walk afterwards if your cat likes to get walked. I don't know. Put on a little cat treadmill. Meow. She always takes the sign pieces. So your cat has very good taste. So you could say whatever your cat's name is. Let's pretend it's Annabelle. Annabelle the cat. This is Annabelle the cat approved. Princess Buttercup. Oh, that's even better. So Princess Buttercup has just selected the next item that's going to be for sale. We're gonna take a quick minute. I'm gonna run this item while I go and grab that item from Princess Buttercup because she wants it to be run next, but she's run away with it. Use it. I mean, seriously, use it. Hi, East Ender Resells. I would use it. It's funny. Princess Buttercup says we need to run this item. Okay, Princess Buttercup, here's a treat, and give me the item. I'll trade you. Princess Buttercup says we need to run this item next. I think that's actually, if she's got good taste, it sounds like she has good taste. If she's grabbing only the signed stuff, then you should have a Princess Buttercup show where it's just her picking stuff. Cat is a reincarnated jewelry designer. Yeah. I mean, seriously, lean into the chaos. Lean into the, like, this is real life, right? Others who are watching who have cats who do this kind of thing, who steal stuff or grab things that they're not supposed to grab at the wrong moment, especially when you're live, just run with it. Run with it. It's fun. Dawn to Dust Musing says if you don't have a show for cat picking, they won't perform like, yeah. Oh yeah. If you have a show for cat picking, they won't perform like a cat. That's true. So don't tell Princess Buttercup that it's happening. So you might need to use a code name for her so she doesn't hear her name. So you might have to say the other creature that lives with me has determined, or my furry friend has determined, so that she doesn't know that it's you. That's very important. Yes, you're right, Dawn to Dust Musing, because cats are, call her a shoplifter. The shoplifter. We've just caught the shoplifter. Here's the item the shoplifter picked out of it. Hide the treats behind the pieces. Ooh. We used to do this thing. I'm digressing. We used to do this thing whenever anyone who's been to Ottawa or lived in Ottawa, do you remember when there was the cats on Parliament Hill? They got rid of them. But there were the cats on Parliament Hill, and they had like, and actually, did you know, fun fact. So for the Americans in the room, our Parliament Hill, which is like our Capitol Hill, the behind, off to the side behind the the center block, is like basically a big, it's right built on top of a cliff. Okay, so right beside it they had, yeah, they have houses for them. They had houses for them, and they had all these really cute little houses that the community built for these feral cats. And the feral cats became fairly domesticated, really. Did you know, fun fact, because I found this out when I started working in politics, did you know that it was the responsibility of the prime minister's office staff to go feed the cats? I didn't know that until I had friends. Yeah. So they had to go down and feed the cats. It was part of it's part of their routine. Now they had volunteers too, but the prime minister's office, it was part of like their gig. So when it got passed from one party to another. Part of the duties was to feed the cats. So when my daughter and I used to going to see the cats, anytime I went to Ottawa, whether it was with my daughter or not, going to see the cats was part of like a ritual that I did. In fact, I felt really naked when I went to Ottawa and the cats were no longer there. They rehoused them. It was safer. There were a lot of health issues for the cats being so feral and trying to get them vet care and everything. And the raccoons were starting to invade the homes and stuff. So it was getting out of hand. Um, but I used to go, and that was part of my ritual, was to go and feed the cats some treats before I went and did a presentation or went to go and beg for money from a different organization. I would, or before I had to do any sort of thing, I would go and visit the cats. It was part of my ritual. And when I went with my daughter, whenever my daughter and I went, we would buy the cat treats, the little cat treats that come in the little packages, the fancy feasts or whatever they are. Anyways, they had like orange ones, blue, like the package was orange, blue, and red and green. And so then we would get the cats to vote for who they liked best. So we would literally be like, okay, so is it orange for NDP or Green Party? Which, how do you vote, cat? Oh, you like the orange ones, and it was ridiculous. It was so silly, but it was a lot of fun. And surprisingly enough, most of the cats did not vote for the blue, whatever the blue flavor was. They didn't vote for the blue most of the time. They liked the red and the orange and the green, but they didn't really like the blue that much. So, blue is tuna. That doesn't make any sense, right? But it is kind of like fake flavor. So, I know. Back in that day, though, Genji, I was blue. So, in my day, I was blue. Then I grew up. And grew a bigger conscience and bigger understanding of the world around me. But anyways, okay. Last call for any questions. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. I love you. Thank you to my mods. You are awesome. I love you so much. Um, You are? Shut the front door, Genji. That is so awesome. You are doing God's work. I love you. Okay, raid. We are going to raid, I think, what was it? Foster? Are they still on? I don't think they are. I don't think they're still on. All right. I love you, D. I can't wait to meet you in person. I'm so excited. Mold Barbie is? Morbid. I don't know why I saw Morbid. Okay. There she is. Morbid Barbie. All right. You met the Manitoba Premier this week. It was I love him. Wad Canoob. I can't wait to give you a big hug. I'm just gonna have to so many Barbies. I know, Morbid Barbie. We're gonna go into Morbid Barbie. All right. Morbid Barbie has only 3 people, is doing vintage and antique jewelry. Let's show lots of love. Look at her. She's trying to reach out to the UK and Australia. So let's give her some love. Wad Canoe. They had a health press conference in my apartment building. I love it. Wob Canoe. Yes, that's what I thought. Okay. I love you guys so much. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. And I will see you on Tuesday. Bye for now. Be good to one another. Tell someone